Hi, welcome to Rush Hour. I'm your host, Austin Rush, here with Drew the Commish Carter. We will be joined by our NHL insider, Kyle Kinnaman, and our technical director, Greg Spaeth, later on in the show, talking about some MLB. Let's get started with a little bit of hockey here. Minnesota Wild are moving on to the second round, boys.
Couldn't be happier right now. Could not.
Back-to-back 4-1 wins over the St. Louis Blues on Friday and last night. Devin Dubnyk stopped 36 of 37 shots on Friday night after his atrocity of a night on Game 3.
Yeah, great bounce back.
Just shows his ability to rebound and just throw that out of his memory.
Yeah.
Because one thing that the Arizona goaltender coach, when he was interviewed about Devin Dubnyk, said that when he would have bad games like that, he'd refer to old habits, and then he called him out on it. And ever since that point, he just continues with it and won't revert back to not tracking the puck well, and it just shows that he's able to just rebound really nicely.
Yeah, you love to hear that.
St. Louis did score the first goal in the game for this. Tarasenko, yet again. He was the Wild's kryptonite this series.
Not too much. I think we got the last laugh, so...
Yeah.
Well, of course, but he had, what was it, 6 goals or 7 that he finished the series with?
6 or 7, I'm not sure exactly.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Hat trick in one game.
The score a little bit different than what shots show. 37-19 in favor of St. Louis. They just peppered goaltender Devin Dubnyk, who played out of his mind yet again.
He stood strong right there in the net, and that's what you need.
He should have had the shutout in my mind last night. That was just a fluky last-second goal from Oshie.
1.8 seconds left. Oshie just somehow finds it right through. I think it was his low glove and pads, and no idea how that puck made it through.
Behind the red line, I think he bounced off of someone.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So the Blues had almost twice as many shots as the Wild.
Correct.
And that was in Game 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think the Wild got outplayed?
No, I think they just peppered a lot of shots.
Okay.
Really, they probably got a couple rebound chances in there. I mean, that game was pretty even. Just we had higher percentage shooting that game.
And the Wild, they don't get outshot that often either. It's not a characteristic of this team.
Mm-mm.
I'm not worried at all, and I think a little bit of preview action for the Chicago Blackhawks series. It's going to be a good series. Definitely going to go to a minimum of 6 games in my mind.
I have the Wild winning in 6, but I can easily see that going to 7.
Went to 6 last year. Probably should have gone to 7.
Yeah, I just think, honestly, I think the series is going to go pretty much exactly like the Blues. We're going to split the first 2. I think we'll split the next 2, and then it'll come down to Game 5. And if whoever wins that, which hopefully will be the Wild in Chicago, then we can win out at home. I think we'll just split and split and split over and over.
If you're Minnesota, where are you more comfortable with playing right now? On the road or at home?
I don't think it matters. I think there's not that stigma that you can't win on the road. Like last year, we're against Chicago, against the Avalanche, where it was down 0-2. They came back 2-2, then down 3-2, then 3-3.
Yeah.
And finally, we got that win in Game 7. This one, we're the best road team in the NHL pretty much. I mean, we tied the NHL record, 12 straight on the road. I think we're more comfortable. I wouldn't say more comfortable, actually. I think we're just fine wherever we are. At home, I feel like they just get too pumped up and not focused on the game. They want to please the fans too much, and they'll try things out of their style.
Yep.
So I think it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Chicago is a hard place to win in, though. I'll give them credit for that home ice.
Yeah.
We've done it before, so.
Do you think Chicago's going to be going with Corey Crawford or Scott Darling?
Announced today Corey
Crawford
Crawford
did
is starting Game 1.
All right. Do you think he's going to be in that for the entire series? Or?
No, I do not.
Hopefully he gives up another 9 in the first 2.
These guys are going to be switching goalies back and forth in my mind. Darling now proved that he is human.
Yeah.
And he got a little bit of taste of welcome to the league since he is a rookie.
But since they have both proven that they can stop the puck, I think it's going to happen like with Darling. Once he gives up 3 goals, it's going to be pulled. So if Crawford gives up 3 goals in a game, Darling will go in until his hot hand is gone. Then I think they'll just keep rotating. They're not going to do what the Blues did yesterday, where it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on television. Ken Hitchcock, head coach of the St. Louis Blues, is being interviewed on national television about how you like to stick with Allen through all this tough times. You're like, yeah, young goaltender, got to learn. Gives up the worst goal I've seen in the playoffs on a very slow 5-hole goal by Justin Fontaine. Immediately looks at Brian Elliott 28 seconds later and pulls his goalie after saying, I'm never pulling him.
Yep. What Minnesota needs to do against Chicago is they need to test Corey Crawford right away.
Mm-hmm.
They need to get shots on that right away. They cannot let him get comfortable.
I think one thing they have to do, or the question is, should they try and contain Brian Bickle? He's our kryptonite, actually.
He is a scoring machine against the Wild.
And in the playoffs. He's a playoff player and a Minnesota Wild.
Yeah.
That's the two things he does very well.
Yeah, he kills us.
So do you try and contain Bickle, or do you not try and worry about him? You worry more about the Taves and Kane and Sharp and Hossa and all that.
I think you just need to worry about keeping all the shots from the outside because once you get guys like Kane and Taves into the middle of the ice,
it's over.
It is game over because those guys are snipers and unforgiving.
And if
they will go in.
Especially if you get caught puck watching.
Exactly.
You'll see what Kane does to Hossa, that spinorama, the backdoor pass, I think. They've done it a couple times.
I'm still trying to figure out if he knew Hossa was there off
They did
that
it again,
pass.
except it wasn't Hossa this time that put it in, but Kane went down, did a spinorama against Nashville. Did the exact same thing.
No, yeah, I did see that.
So, Kyle, you mentioned Blues coach Ken Hitchcock. Do you think he's going to get fired after this playoffs?
Rumors are that Ken Hitchcock could be fired.
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 first-round exits in a row. It's been a long time since they've advanced.
Yeah, but to be fair to Hitchcock, I mean, expectations were high for the playoffs, yes, but they were high because they were so good in the regular season.
Yeah.
So you have to give him credit for being so good in the regular season. Plus, the Wild aren't your typical 8 or 4 seed, I guess.
Yeah, so they could fire him and try, I wouldn't call it a rebuild, but a retool.
Yeah.
They might, new coaching staff, maybe trade away an Oshie or a Backus. Oshie's probably the most not overrated, but most talked about penalty killer in the league.
Yeah.
Because of what he did in Sochi.
So
he's a shootout specialist, and that's how people know him.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, he's a second-line guy, can play first, but he's a penalty killer. So he's like the most talked about, probably most jersey-bought penalty killer in the league.
Yeah.
So I think they could try and trade away an Oshie because teams will want it for revenue and whatnot. I think it'll be a retooling year. They have a couple older players. Kind of build around Tarasenko, I think.
Yep.
It's kind of ironic that Ken Hitchcock actually coached the Dallas Stars team the very first year that they left Minnesota, and then actually won the Stanley Cup with the Dallas Stars team. And now he just got knocked out by the Minnesota Wild. So it's an interesting fact, but in my opinion, I think he will be unemployed here pretty soon.
Yeah, but there's a lot of teams looking for coaches.
Oh,
out
yeah.
there.
I mean, he won't be out of a job for long. I just don't think he will be with the St. Louis Blues organization very much longer.
Maybe one more year. They might say, let's see one more year with this core. But it'll probably just be another great regular season and then just a first, maybe second-round exit.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so you guys both like the Wild in, 6?
6, but I can easily see it going to 7.
I'm going to take the Minnesota Wild in 7.
7?
Yeah.
Right.
These two teams are very good.
How many games do you think we won on the road?
I think we'll take 3.
Really?
We'll take one of the first 2.
Yep.
So you say we lose either 3 and 6,
I think we're going to win Game 7 there.
I know, but you said so we win 3 on the road. So you think we have to drop 2 at home. I think we win Game 3 in that scenario, and then you lose 4, maybe 6.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
yep.
They'll come out, but then they'll come out too hot again, like in Game 4.
Yeah.
Just not play well.
Well, I think we all like the Wild here in this series.
I don't know. Let's give some credit to the Blackhawks. We don't want to be too biased here.
Well, I'm just saying.
Very good team.
Would you pick the Wild to win this series?
I'll take the Blackhawks. I think
Really?
they're better and more experienced. And if you look at
Better?
I mean, okay, I haven't been following the Wild as closely as you guys. You guys are diehard fans. But I think looking at it objectively, I could easily see the Blackhawks win this series.
They have a very good defensive core, but I think we have a more complete defensive core. Give them credit, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Hjalmarsson, Oduya, Roosevelt. Roosevelt's here and there, but I think just ours, we cycle through our 3 defensive lines more and more complete than they do. They kind of rely on that top 4, top 2. And then forwards, they have more skillful guys than Patrick Kane, obviously, Jonathan Taves. Jonathan Taves is arguably the greatest player in the world.
Yep.
So it's like, sure, they have that, and then you have the goaltender issue. For once, we don't have the goaltender issue.
Yeah.
It's another team that has it.
Yeah.
So,
Which is why I think Minnesota's going to take this series.
It's going to be
you can't make a deep run with having goalie issues.
No.
Yeah, goaltending is definitely the great equalizer.
I'm not saying we're going to blow out the Hawks in 6. I think it's going to be very close. The score may be misleading because they'll, of course, be empty netters. I think it'll be 1 to 2 goal games going into the end and then end up one team winning by 3 or 4 just because of empty netters.
No, I'm not taking anything away from the Blackhawks here. It's just we lost in 5 games 2 years ago, lost in 6 last year. I think the Wild, they want this team. They want to play them, and they want to beat them.
Parise said it before. He says, if we want to be considered serious Stanley Cup contenders, we need to beat the Blackhawks.
You got to beat the best.
Yeah, the Blackhawks are, one of the best this year, and they have been one of the best for the past few years, obviously. They have the most playoff experience out of any team in the postseason. And, they're just so good. I want the Wild to win, being from Minnesota, but I'll take the Blackhawks just to give us some variety.
How many games?
7. I'll take it at home.
Yeah. I think it's going to go 6, easily 7, but as a Wild fan, I'm not going to pick the Hawks, even though they could beat us.
Yeah, they could. We're not too biased. Mm-mm.
We'll give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we got 2 for the Wild and 1 for the Hawks in 7. We'll see how this plays out. We're coming for you, Chicago. The Ottawa Senators made it interesting for the Montreal Canadiens. Won 2 games. Were eliminated yesterday, 2-0.
Yeah, I watched the first 2 periods of that game, or the first period. I forget how much I watched, but from what I saw, the Senators had no puck luck. It's kind of like the Wild at some points in the season where, they go down 1-0 and they battle back, hit pipe, just squeaks wide of the net over and over and over again. And it's not like they were outplayed in any sense. They easily could have gone to Game 7.
And the Senators got a bad call against them. I believe they
terrible call. They had a goal go in, but Carey Price got a shot at him, held it for that long.
Yeah,
and ref blew his whistle, and then all of a sudden it trickles into the net.
Yeah, it should have been a goal.
This just shows you how good Carey Price is. 43 save shutout.
Yeah, he was amazing.
For the Vezina finalists.
He was amazing. Yeah, it should be 42, but that's all right. They still outscored him.
Not really surprising that Montreal took it. Did you think they were going to sweep them there? After going up 3-0?
I thought it was going to be 5-1, or in 5 games. I thought it was going to be 4-1.
Yeah.
I was surprised they took the next game and pushed it to 6.
Yeah. Once the Senators won their second game, I was kind of getting ready for
that Game 7.
Yeah,
it's a Cinderella story. I have the Canadiens in the final, so I want the Canadiens to win. But just to see the Senators get that close,
that would be amazing.
I don't think they're going to get past the second round, but
no, probably not.
The better team won.
Got Game 7 action tonight with the Islanders and the Capitals. New York won on Saturday 3-1 to force a Game 7. And the last time these two teams played a Game 7, the game went to 6 overtimes. How about that?
I originally when I made a bracket, I picked the Islanders, and then logic came through. I'm like, let's pick the Capitals. They're the better team.
Yeah.
But I just love this Islanders team.
Oh, they're so fun.
They're so much fun to watch, and it's so great to see. I love John Tavares. I love Johnny Boychuk and Nick Leddy.
Yep.
I think Halak is what they needed. I said it in the summer. I was saying all the Islanders needed to become a playoff team last year was a goaltender and two defensive players, 2 to 3. They went on, got Boychuk and Leddy and Halak.
Yeah.
And they were in the playoffs. And as much as it'd be cool to see Ovechkin go on, I want this Islanders team to win so bad. And just can't help but root for them.
That stadium in Game 6, because those fans knew it might have been the last game in the Nassau Coliseum, just incredible. I want to see some more hockey games in Long Island.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. You might just get that chance tonight.
I hope so. I got $10 on the Islanders.
Oh,
so
wow.
I need them to win.
Too?
I do, yes. I do. It's bold, but I like it. Yeah.
Gotta go with the bold pick sometimes.
Yeah.
We have Game 6 action between the Red Wings and the Lightning. Lightning were shut out last game against the Red Wings.
Peter Mrazek picked up his second shutout of the series.
Yeah.
Which has just proven that he can be a professional goaltender in the playoffs, which is surprising to see because he's shown kind of signs of fading, and then all of a sudden he'll come back and shut out, have kind of an iffy game shutout. So it's hopefully he can find that. I hope the Lightning can come back and win this series, but it's the Red Wings.
Yeah, we'll
Classic.
See. And again, Chicago Blackhawks move on to the second round against the Minnesota Wild with the 4-3 victory over the Nashville Predators.
That game.
That was a crazy game. 3-3 after the first period.
Oh, yeah. They were up 2-0, and all of a sudden, or the Predators were up 2-0, and then all of a sudden it was 2-1. And I believe it went 3-1, so, like, you know, your heart came back, like, okay, we got another 2-goal lead, and all of a sudden it's 3-3 after the first. And then after that, I believe that's when Darling was pulled, and Crawford came in and just stood there.
Yeah.
And stopped every single puck. The goal that Duncan Keith got to make it 4-3, They held that zone for a solid minute and a half to 2 minutes.
Slap shot from the point, Craig.
They had puck possession for so long, and the Predators could not get out of their zone, and finally, Duncan Keith broke through. But would have loved to see the Predators win that game.
Yep.
But bring on the Blackhawks.
Talk about a goal-scoring game. Calgary Flames advance after beating the Canucks 7-4 Friday night.
I think 2 of them were
Empty
and
net.
I watched that game too, and that was one heck of a game to watch.
Yeah, it was 4-4 going down to the wire, and then
They were down
Calgary-
3-0 in the first, and they changed goalies. Hiller gave up 2 goals on 3 shots. Pullum, and then I think it was the next shot with Ramo in net. He gave up a goal. So first shot, first goal, and they battled back. It's the Flames team. They just keep battling and battling and battling back. And so what's interesting is they're playing the Ducks. Both teams are great in the third period at comebacks, and just good at coming back. So a team could be up 3-0, and you think it's over. I would not. That series is gonna be so much fun to watch. You can't count any team out.
Yeah.
Team could probably be up 3-0 in the series, and one will battle back to force it to 7.
Yeah.
They both are just so resilient. It'll be a really fun series to watch.
Yeah.
On Friday night, the New York Rangers took the series in 5 against the Pittsburgh Penguins, beating them 2-1 in overtime. Is this the last we'll ever see? Well, not ever see, but is this Penguins team ever going to be really prevalent again?
I believe, I'll say it again, I think they need a retooling, not a rebuild. They could go 1 or 2 more years with Malkin, but I think they should trade Malkin.
Really?
I heard someone say they should trade Crosby.
One of the two. I think one of them has to go. You don't want to make the mistake that the LA Lakers did in basketball with Kobe Bryant. I thought the Lakers should have traded Kobe Bryant years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when he still had trade value, not let him leave and retire with nothing back.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they need to do with Malkin and Crosby. One of them. I say you keep Crosby, one of the greatest players in the world.
Yep.
And then Malkin, you could trade him for a boat ton.
Yeah.
You could get draft picks, good players back, clear up some salary with Malkin. And I think it's just another retooling. You got to go out and find some free agents, trade some players around, and make a new team. But you have to keep either Malkin or Crosby.
Yeah.
I don't know which one they'll trade. Seeing Sidney Crosby in a different uniform would be something else,
It'd
though.
be very weird.
Yeah, it would be very weird, yes. All right. Any last minute on the NHL for you guys before we head to MLB?
Can't wait for the next round. That's all
It's
I
going to
can
be
say.
great.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to bring in our technical director, Greg Spaeth, to talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball season
yeah.
so far. Welcome, Greg.
Hey. Oh my gosh, it's been a while since I've been talking to him. I've been sitting behind a desk behind a computer listening to you guys, and it's one of the hardest things to do because you kind of want to chime in,
Yeah.
Oh, I can
but
imagine.
you can't, and it's just like, we just got to sit here for another 30 minutes.
Yeah. It's your time to shine now, Greg.
Oh yeah. So
How do you think the first month has gone so far?
it has gone. It's been a pitcher's game so far into the year. It's been dominated by pitching, and there hasn't been a lot of complete games, but a lot of shutouts. I mean, just in the first week alone in this season. But as for the shutouts, I think there's in the American League, there's 3 shutouts actually. 2 happened this last Sunday night,
Yep.
and there's only 2 overall inside of the National League. Last time I looked, but there's still been a lot of people that have been good batting wise. I mean, you have Adam Jones. He's probably been the MVP of the American League in my opinion, right there with Nelson Cruz. But I think Adam Jones, he'll give you a solid defense, and right now he's hitting .403. He has an on-base percentage of .450. I mean, even for the first
crazy.
month of the season, that's really good.
That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And he doesn't have as many home runs as Nelson Cruz, who leads the league in home runs, but he still has 5 home runs. He'll get stolen bases on the year. So I think eventually he'll probably be a really great player to watch during the year.
Yeah.
And if Chris Davis, who had that monster year a couple of years ago, if he can get back at least somewhere near that form, it's going to help Adam Jones, because people are going to be focusing on Chris Davis even when Matt Wieters comes back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to be, they're going to be focused on them. And then Adam Jones is going to come up. He's going to get a lot of good pitches to hit because they don't want to face a guy who can hit a home run every
Exactly.
at-bat inside of Chris Davis.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then for the National League, you have Adrian Gonzalez, who had just a torrid first 2 weeks.
He was unbelievable.
It was just ridiculous. He had a 3 home run game, and it
4
was just.
for 4 with 3 home runs.
And
I
he's-
believe that game was.
He's kind of cooled off a little bit, but he's still hot. He has a 380 batting average. I mean, that's still ridiculous, even for the first month of the season. 7 home runs, 18 RBI. I mean, he's going to be a player to watch. I don't think he'll be an MVP candidate come to the end of the year because I think he'll start to fade. But, as for right now, he's still hot. He's still a player to watch.
He's trying to prove everyone wrong. Did you see the Dodgers radio announcer kept calling him slow? So he challenged him to a race on the field. He won.
I would assume
They
so.
got it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I would hope. Yeah, definitely.
For me, the New York Mets have to be the story of this season. They have
So far, yes.
Yep, they have the best record in the MLB, sitting at 14-5, and a lot of people thought they'd be maybe a team of the future. They have a lot of young pitching prospects. Obviously, Matt Harvey is the ace there. Jacob deGrom has come on and looked incredible this season, and then they have some prospects. Noah Syndergaard is currently in the minors, and then Zach Wheeler, I believe is his name. He's injured this year too.
Yeah.
So he's going to be coming back next season. They have a bright future.
Well, you have leadership on that team. Like you have David Wright, even though he's been injured for a while now, but
Yeah.
he's still a lead. He can still be a leader on that team. You brought in a guy like Michael Kadire,
Yes.
who's been solid the last 5 seasons,
Gotta love
even
Kadire.
probably more than that.
Yeah.
And Matt Harvey, he was gone last year all year. I think he has something to prove. I mean, he has 4 wins on the season. That's
Yeah.
really good, especially for coming off a Tommy John surgery. I mean,
Exactly.
a lot of people will take it a good 2 or 3 years to even get back to a good form, as at least to what he was.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing what he can do so far into the year.
Yeah, he's been amazing.
My story, I'm going to go to Kansas City with their young pitcher, Yordano Ventura. Has not completed a game or has not left by his manager
Yeah.
once this season. He left his first game with an injury, second game with a right calf cramp. Third game he beamed Brett Lowry, about 99 mile an hour fastball, got tossed for that. And then just the other night on Thursday, he got ejected for screaming obscene gestures at Adam Eaton.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is that whole World Series run is going to his head, if he just thinks he's entitled to doing this, but I think if Kansas City is going to have a good season, this kid needs to get his head back together because they need him after losing Shields.
Oh yeah, definitely. You need a better pitching, like James Shields. He left his mark, but you're not. They don't have another James Shields in that lineup. I mean,
Correct.
they have people that are close, and the impact is there. But I feel they have to move on from that. I mean, they
Yes.
will get better, but I mean, Ned Yost had to get a hold on his team because they had like a bench clearing brawl. Like how many times?
Every
this season?
game against Chicago.
And like against the A's too, and it's like you gotta do something about that. I mean, they feel like they're saying like they feel like they're the underdogs and people aren't respecting them, and I don't think that's true anymore. I mean, they went to the World Series Game 7. I mean, just a couple good at bats away from winning a World Series,
Correct.
and I mean, I think people, if they're not giving them respect, I don't know. They probably haven't been following the MLB in the past. I don't know.
They're not gonna earn respect by getting into benches clearing brawls every
Yeah.
series, and it's not just Ventura; it's that whole team is just getting so chippy.
and
with
it's going to
everything.
eventually affect their team because people are getting suspended.
Yeah,
He got
And-
suspended for 7 games, so he'll miss 1 start.
One star, and it's not a good thing to do. I mean, right now they're hot. I mean, but if they keep losing players just for like 1 or 2 games, they may lose their rhythm and they're going to fall back in the standings.
and all this fighting it's also dangerous. We should say that. I mean, the reliever Herrera, who threw behind Brett Lowry at 100 miles per hour, when he was getting taken off the field, he pointed to his head like he was going to hit Brett
Yeah,
Lowry in the
that's-
head with a 100-mile-an-hour
that's
fastball next time they
just
come
You
out.
can't go for
Unacceptable.
the head. If
It's
you're going to hit
unacceptable.
someone, it's the unwritten
That's-
rule. You go for the back.
That
Yeah.
could kill someone.
It literally
it
could kill
someone. That is
So,
not okay.
So Ned Yost needs to get control of his team, or the MLB needs to step in because these guys are going insane right now.
Oh yeah.
For myself, my story is Alex Rodriguez.
Oh,
Let's get into
man.
A-Rod real quick.
Yes.
Right now he's batting .267 with 5 home runs and 13 RBIs.
He's been better than most people expected.
Oh, yeah.
I did not expect this from A-Rod.
Is he juicing again?
I don't
That's
think,
a possibility. I,
don't
wouldn't
think,
be surprised.
I don't think even Alex Rodriguez is dumb enough to start taking more steroids.
Let's hope not.
Oh man, but Alex Rodriguez. I mean, obviously he's been better than people have, anticipated. But I think that's going to eventually fall off during the year. I mean, he's not like it's not like 10 years ago when he was just jacking things out of the park left and right.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen ever again for him. I mean, is he going to have like moments of brilliance? Yes, I think he'll still have that. Will he probably reach 7 home runs? Yeah, I think he'll hit 7 home runs. 7 home runs. Yeah, 7 home runs. 700 home runs.
I'm like, he's at 5 right now. 2 more for 6 months?
Yeah.
Only 7 home runs the rest of the year. That's going to happen. But 700 home runs, he'll probably reach that milestone within the next 2 or 3 years.
He's at 659 right now, and that's another interesting conversation. He's gonna get that 660th home run pretty soon, and that ties Willie Mays for 4th all time. And in his contract, the Yankees agreed to pay him a bonus for getting to that 660 home run milestone
Which is incentive
as
for him to use
an
steroids.
incentive. Okay, sure, that you can say that, but if the Yankees back out on that, I mean,
No, I think the
still
Yankees are
respect
doing
that.
what they should do. They should play A-Rod.
Playing him, but not honoring the contract.
No, not that. I agree with that.
Okay.
They should on their contract.
Okay.
I was just talking back in the day when he signed the contract,
Yeah.
before all this steroid blew up.
Yeah, and I mean he's
Yeah.
been good for him, so it's helping them on the field too.
And it also brings up another debate: is steroids worth it? I mean, A-Rod has been paid like almost $30 million a year for the past 15 years,
Yeah,
and it's been like, well, he's on steroids, he's been suspended, but does that really do anything? He's still a multimillionaire. He
Yeah.
still is getting close to a lot of MLB records. So is it worth it?
I don't think it's necessarily worth it. I don't think players should be doing steroids, but I think that the MLB should at least acknowledge
Yeah.
what he's done. I mean, sure, you're on steroids, but you still have to hit the ball.
I know. And
Like, that's always people are just like, oh, steroids also makes you have better contact. I'm like, no, it doesn't. You just have
Doesn't
more
make you better
power.
it
He
gives
still
you-
has to be able to hit the ball.
the MLB needs to embrace the steroid era from a historical perspective. I mean, we agree on this.
Yeah, you can't just neglect 20 years of your history.
Yeah.
I mean, you gave Babe Ruth stats before black people were allowed to play in the MLB, which
Yes.
people forget about. Like, Babe Ruth was breaking records, and you couldn't have black people be playing in your league or
Yeah.
any other people besides white. So, like, why neglect this? If you're neglecting this, you should not count Babe Ruth's records.
Right.
Like you take into account, probably without the steroid controversy, Barry Bonds, the greatest hitter inside the MLB in the history.
Mm-hmm.
But would he have been a Hall of Famer if he didn't take steroids? Yes, he would
Yes,
have.
he would have.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Without a doubt, would have been a Hall of Famer. Would he have been the home run king? Probably not.
No.
But he still would have been up there. And
I mean,
probably
do
in
you
good
agree
ranks.
with him being the hitting coach for the Giants?
Yeah, as long
I
as
don't
they're
know.
like dealing under the table.
I've seen a lot of things that people are like, oh, that's wrong. Get out of here. It's like he had great form.
Yes.
He
Yes.
hit the ball with contact. He had power because of his steroids, obviously.
Yeah.
But he still had to do all that,
It's
which
like-
people forget about.
It's like when Mark McGuire became the hitting coach for the LA Dodgers. People are like, "Oh, he's gonna give him steroids." I'm like, "No, he's not."
He's gonna
gone
teach him
through
how to
enough.
hit. He's gonna teach him
gone
how
through
to
enough.
hit.
He's not going to make all of his hitters all of a sudden have to go through all of the court, and he had to go through. He's not stupid.
And me personally, the most excitement I can remember having as a baseball fan was when Barry Bonds walked up to the plate,
I
or
mean,
when
as a
Alex,
kid,
yeah.
you just
or when-
looked up to Barry Bonds.
or when Alex Rodriguez came up to the plate. That is the most fun baseball that I remember. So
And-
why just ignore it?
And it was good for the MLB. I mean, people don't like to watch 2-1, 4 hour, not 4 hour, like 2.5 hour pitching matches.
Like that's what's happening now. Pitching is dominating the league. I didn't
And it's
mention
not
that.
as entertaining as seeing a guy hit a double or getting a bunch of runs in or hitting a 450-foot home run.
or seeing a guy break a record that stood for a long
Yes,
time.
exactly.
So yeah, they need to accept that the steroid era happened, and they need to have something about it in the Hall of Fame, or just recognize these players because they're still amazing.
Yeah, maybe put an asterisk next to the name.
Yeah, okay,
like,
that's
but
fine.
Put Barry Bonds and a little asterisk and be like,
Yeah.
this means he used steroids, but he still has the most home runs ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many did he get before the steroids?
Oh, jeez, I can't even remember. Like he
Well,
went to the
it's-
Giants.
Well, it's impossible to know when he started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, still.
I think there's I think you could probably tell. I mean, he gained like 30 pounds in an off season one year.
And his head got super big.
Yeah, so it's just like, well,
Yeah, he looked
maybe
a-
there was a
a
point in
little bit
time where
different.
he started using more steroids. That's a possibility. But what I guess you really can't tell when he started to use them. He could
Yeah, I
have
guess
started
so.
using them at the end of the season, at the
Yeah.
start of the season, that just didn't start to kick in or something like that. But
Yeah, they just needed to acknowledge that it happened, embrace it, let him in. Him into the Hall of Fame, McGuire, A-Rod, who
Well,
else?
Sosa.
Sosa.
The entire issue is the Hall of Fame is voted on by baseball writers.
Yep.
Pretty much old curmudgeon-y guys that just think they cheated and they cheated the game and they cheated
Give it
them.
30 years when
Yeah.
the baseball writers that were kids like
Yes,
us,
yeah.
when Barry Bonds was growing up,
Yeah,
they're
but
gonna vote him in.
by that time he's going to be off the ballot.
well, I mean, you could get it at an extension committee vote or something like that. But I'm seeing your point.
Yeah, and we all agree that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame too.
Oh yeah,
For a
definitely.
player, not for a
player,
coach.
not for a coach.
For, yeah,
definitely.
as a player, yes.
It's a different debate, but yeah, sure he gambled on his own team for and against, which means he probably threw some games.
Yeah.
He's not going to put this pitcher in now because it's lefty righty or whatever, and he's going to put him in because he has them losing for thousands of dollars. Obviously that, but as a player, most hits
All
ever.
time,
Yeah.
Played 24 years. I mean,
And the
He's
MLB
incredible.
uses him. If
Yeah.
they say he's banned, but then if their Visa pays a lot of money for Pete Rose to be at a Hall of Fame game,
like this year at the All-Star game. He's going to be at the All-Star game.
what are you gonna do? If the Reds are hosting the All-Star game.
Exactly.
Pete Rose is gonna be there.
Yeah,
And
like they said he can be there. Like he's not banned for that game.
I've heard Pete Rose say, he's like, just let me know if I'm banned or if I'm allowed to come. Stop
Exactly.
using me when Discover Card is gonna pay you a ton of money for me to be
Exactly.
there.
Yeah.
And they really need to divorce the idea of Pete Rose as a player and Pete Rose as a coach, because the MLB Hall of Fame has some holy idea of what it is. Pete Rose as a player, you can't deny that he's one of the greats.
I mean, wasn't he also selling his jerseys? Because there's the old joke of you go up to a baseball collector at a convention and like, oh, you got a Pete Rose game worn jersey? He's like, yeah, what color? Or what team? And they're like, Reds. They're like, what size? And they're like, large? And they're like, home or away or alternate. So like, because there's so much out there of Pete Rose memorabilia that it's never concluded, but it's pretty safe to say that, he was selling his game worn jerseys where they have no value anymore, really.
Yeah.
So there's that when he was a player, obviously.
I'm not worried about that.
But
He
that's nothing compared to betting on your
was so
team.
good.
But the MLB is so uptight.
Yeah.
So they should still let him in.
We agree on this.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to our last MLB story. Josh Hamilton returning to the Rangers.
Yeah. How about that?
I mean, people in Texas are probably trying to find a way to unburn some jerseys.
Yes.
They went over to the Angels. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it'll probably be a good thing for the Texas Rangers. I mean, it'll be publicity, but they're not going to have a good season besides this. I mean, they're starting to deteriorate. Since 2010, when they went to the World Series, they've been starting to deteriorate. It's just not been good for them.
Yeah, and now
I mean,
they're-
their farm system is just not. It's not up there. It's not good at all.
Plus, they're in a killer division too in the AL West.
I mean, the West in itself has not been playing that well this
Not
year,
this
but they'll
year,
get
but
better.
yeah,
Obviously, it's just
of
the
course.
first month of the season. But Texas, it'll be a way to sell some tickets.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Josh Hamilton, he will probably have better stats than he did inside of LA if he can get back to his original form. He won't be like hitting like AL MVP again.
Yeah, he won't be.
Not
But-
like 08.
Definitely not. But I think like he'll have better stats. He's in a better hitting park,
Yep.
so
And I don't
he'll help out a lot. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna root for this guy so hard. How great of a story would it be if he came back to Texas and just
Did he have to
redeemed
go to
himself?
rehab a second time?
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. That's
he
what I
checked
thought.
himself in. I mean, this guy has a disease, and the way
No, I know.
the way the Angels handled it was just revolting.
I feel like Texas Rangers clubhouse is his home.
Yeah,
Those front office guys, they knew what he went through and they helped him through it.
Yeah,
So
and-
it's probably a more comforting environment for him.
you could easily see him going back there and just starting to play very well again, because he just feels more home there.
He never seemed comfortable inside of LA at all.
No.
I mean, he had some moments of brilliance, but it
Right.
just wasn't really all there. And he got injured from time to time. It just never fit.
And I don't think his talent is all gone. I think he's probably still a pretty
I just think
talented player.
there's a lot of pressure on him when they got him, Pujols,
Yeah.
all these guys are supposed to
Yep.
be the new murderers row.
Same thing happened to Pujols. He declined rapidly when he got to LA.
There's just all this pressure for them to just be amazing. They're probably going for a home run swing every time,
Yeah.
just letting
Yeah.
it go to their head.
Yeah.
And then you look at, I mean, what I think Josh Hamilton is going to go through is kind of what Justin Morneau went through after his concussion. Is it's going to take him a while to get back to a good form, but
Yep.
he's in a hitter's ballpark now.
Yeah.
So I think that his numbers are going to go up. I mean, is he going to do the same thing that Justin Morneau did? Is come back after a couple of years and win the NL batting title or the AL batting title in Hamilton's in his league? No, I don't think he's going to do that right away. But over time, I think he's going to be a core member of the Rangers offense for a little bit. I mean, he doesn't have that much longer left in his career and in his prime.
Yeah.
But I think he'll get back there.
Is he DH or is he going to go back to playing what position in the outfield do you think he's going to play?
If he plays the outfield, probably play right field.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
But,
that's
you
the
know,
least demanding.
A DH probably for a while until he gets
Back into the
comfortable.
system.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go back to being a center fielder anymore.
No, probably
I don't think he has the speed
No,
for that anymore.
definitely not. No.
But
Yeah, so we're all rooting for him.
yeah, I hope he
Be a great
goes
story if
back
the guy
home. That's
returns.
good times.
All right, let's move on to a little bit of NBA action here.
Perfect.
The Cleveland Cavaliers sweep the Boston Celtics with a 101-93 win yesterday. This game was interesting. Both teams shot under 40%. Cleveland had 39, and the Celtics shot 38. With a little bit of extracurriculars.
Ooh,
A little bit. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
It got very chippy. I mean, we had multiple incidents in this game. Obviously, first was Kelly Olynyk on Kevin Love, where Kevin Love dislocated his left shoulder, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But whether or not you think that was intentional, it was still a dirty play. Mm-hmm. And so we saw the Cavs retaliate. Kendrick Perkins, for some reason, takes it out on Jay Crowder.
He was only 37 seconds into the game at that
Right,
point.
yeah, Kendrick Perkins. That's why he's on the Cavs. He's basically an enforcer. So he comes over, hard blindside screen on Jay Crowder.
To the head.
Yeah, forearms to the neck. Jay Crowder hits the deck immediately, and then Perkins just stood over him like he owned him, like he was trying to fight. Kendrick Perkins is one of my least favorite players in the league. I think he's such a phony.
He's a bum.
But so that happened. Jay Crowder, understandably upset, goes hard for an offensive rebound, and ends up getting tangled with J.R. Smith, and then we know what happened next.
I wouldn't say tangled. He was haymakered.
Well, yeah, he was tangled with J.R., and then in response to that, J.R. did his dirty work.
That was completely uncalled for.
Right. For those of you who don't know, Jay Crowder was behind J.R. Smith, and J.R. Smith whipped around, punched Jay Crowder square in the face, and Crowder was unconscious, it looked like, and his leg crumbled. He sprained his knee because he was unconscious, and he crumbled to the ground. And wouldn't surprise me if he had some concussion symptoms either.
Correct. The Love injury, this kind of, it hurts the Cavs here.
Really
Love
does.
led the Cavs in free throw attempts and rebounds for the first 3 games. He also shot 47% from the three. The rest of the Cavs roster was only shooting 32%.
Right, and we think about Kevin Love this season and his statistics as sort of a disappointment, because obviously he's not putting up the same numbers he was here in Minnesota. But if you look at the numbers with him on the floor and with him off the floor, they are so much better offensively with him on the
It's
floor.
kind of like when Chris Bosh went to Miami with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. He wasn't putting up points like he was with the Toronto Raptors, but he was still a big part of the team.
Still so crucial for their offense. So we're probably going to see Tristan Thompson slide into the starting lineup, which is fine. I mean, I like Tristan Thompson, but there's going to be really limited spacing with the front court of Timofey Mozgov and Tristan Thompson. Neither one of them is a very good shooter. James Jones will probably play a lot of stretch 4. He'll get a bunch more minutes, and that'll be fine for when he's shooting.
Yeah.
But on the other end, it's going to be pretty much a nightmare because we know what the Bulls have in the front court. They have Joakim Noah, Pau Gasol, Taj Gibson, Nikola Mirotic. He's not going to be able to defend any of those guys, and he's going to really struggle to rebound against those huge guys.
Yeah, the Bulls are going to be hard out, though, with Derrick Rose playing the way that he is.
Yes, for sure. And also Tristan Thompson, he's great on the offensive glass, but that's partly because he doesn't play so many minutes, so he can come off the bench and just provide a lot of energy. If he's starting and playing, around 40 minutes per game, as he might have to do without Kevin Love, that's going to really kill their energy, I think.
That Kevin Love injury is a minimum of 2 weeks.
Yeah, according to Brian Windhorst from ESPN.
That's enough time for the Cavs to lose a series to the
That
Bulls.
is true.
Most likely the Bulls.
Yeah, it's going to be the Bulls
Yeah.
in July.
Unless there's a major downfall. The whole J.R. Smith thing where he knocked the daylights out of Crowder, that really bugs me because he was in a bad place. Cleveland took him out of New York, which was just an awful place for him. And they gave him a new career, basically. Cleveland was just starting to be hot. He was playing very well for Cleveland. It looked like he was going to turn it around. In a way, he owes Cleveland, and by doing this, he's going to be, I think, in my opinion, he's going to be suspended at least 4 games because I think the NBA may take into account that Crowder did sprain his ACL.
Yeah.
So he owes it to Cleveland to not do stupid things. This jeopardizes their next upcoming series with Chicago. He already knew that Kevin Love had a major injury.
So
you can tell.
Now they're going to be
They're
without
going to be down
starters.
2 guys for a minimum of 2 games.
Yeah, we'll see what the suspension is, but it's really a shame because J.R. Smith has always been known as kind of a head case and a guy who couldn't get his head on straight. He always had the talent, but in New York especially, he really struggled to be
He won
consistent.
6th Man of the Year.
Yeah. So he always had that talent, and then he didn't truly harness it game to game consistently until he got to Cleveland, and it looked like the flip switched for him. Maybe because he was on a contender, so he really wanted to really wanted to play well for the team, and maybe because the nightlife in Cleveland isn't as crazy as it is in New York. We know J.R. Smith loves to party. But now for him to do something like this out of the blue, it was so unexpected. It really sucks. Let's be honest.
He's lost over $480,000 due to fines and suspensions. So you think he would have gotten it by now?
Yeah.
But clearly he hasn't.
He has not, and I thought, like I mentioned, I thought he had gotten it, but I guess he hasn't. And personally, I think he should be suspended multiple games because that was very dangerous what he did to Jay Crowder.
Even if he wasn't going for the KO to Crowder's head,
Yeah.
just the fact that he swung his body around with that much force.
I mean, it was clearly intentional and deliberate because Crowder and him had been tangled up earlier on the rebound, like I mentioned.
Are the Cavs in trouble right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Just losing Kevin Love, that is a huge blow, I mean, to the chemistry of that team. I mean, he didn't do that well in the regular season, but throughout the playoffs, he's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, he has been proving himself.
But, if they can harness what they were doing in the regular season when they started going on a winning streak, I think that they can withstand the Bulls.
Yeah.
I honestly think they can, but it's going to be a tough series.
Yeah, we'll see. It's not, I mean, the problem with the Cavs isn't going to be solely because they're missing these two guys. It's because there's a really good basketball team coming to play them in the second round. We're going to get to the Bulls in a second, but they have been absolutely incredible. I mean, I know they lost Game 4 on a last-second buzzer beater, but they've been really impressive, especially Derrick Rose.
It's good to see. Moving on to the Bucks and the Bulls game, like Drew just said, the Bucks with a last-minute layup by Jared Bayless to beat the Chicago Bulls 3-1 to stay in the series.
Yeah, story of this game for me was the amount of turnovers the Bucks forced. 26 turnovers by Chicago, and the Bucks had 20 steals. So that's really huge for them when they get out in transition and can get some easy buckets against the Bulls.
The Bucks didn't really capitalize on that. They only shot 39%, while Chicago shot 48% for the game.
But their defense was so great, forcing turnovers, I guess, and their bench was amazing. Bucks bench outscored the Bulls bench 47-13. I mean, you got guys. Jared Dudley was guarding Joe Kimino on the perimeter a little bit, and he was the one that made the inbounds pass to Jared Bayless on the last shot. John Henson protected the rim very well. He had 4 blocks, and he played in crunch time. O.J. Mayo sighting. He nailed some big shots down the stretch. He led the team with 18 points, had 4 threes. And then Bayless, we've mentioned him a couple times, playing point guard at the end actually over Michael Carter-Williams. And they played the same amount of minutes, but then Bayless was in there at the end. He had that buzzer beater to win, like we mentioned. He was a +6. Carter-Williams was a -11 in this game.
Did you hear what Derrick Rose said about the game-winning layup where he was on defense?
He just fell asleep.
What?
I know.
I just fell asleep.
How does that happen?
How does that happen at the end of a game?
I know. What else?
Especially when you're Derrick Rose. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know when you're not trying to save your legs for your grandchildren's graduation or whatnot, but
Okay, that's a different argument.
Yes.
how do you fall asleep with
he-
under 3 seconds to go in the game?
He definitely deserves some blame for this loss. It wasn't just the last possession.
No, of course not.
He scored 14 points on 13 shots and had 8 turnovers in this game by himself. So the entire game he really hurt the Bulls, and then obviously just did not defend Jared Bayless, and Bayless scored the game winner.
I'm sure he'll have a bounce-back game, and
Oh, yeah,
they'll take
definitely.
the series with the next game in Chicago.
Yeah, and I want to mention Jason Kidd because at the end Jason Kidd, the coach, was the Bucks' best player. Really, he called a crunch time timeout after Derrick Rose turned it over with like a second left on the other end, and that's what allowed the Bucks to do the inbound pass that won them the game. And he had a nice play at the end to get Jared Bayless free.
It's an interesting series, but all but over after the next game.
Yep.
Definitely.
The Warriors complete the 4-game sweep of the New Orleans Pelicans. No surprise in my opinion. The Warriors stole Game 3.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
They stole Game 3.
We haven't talked about that yet, so I think we should right now.
That was an insane comeback. Again, Steph Curry, don't worry.
Yep, Steph Curry with the shot.
just
Probably
smooth.
the best game of the playoffs. I
Oh,
think.
absolutely.
So in Game 3, the Pelicans came out super hot. The crowd was really into it. But then Steph hit 2 threes, Clay hit 2 threes, and they silenced the building. But the Pelicans responded really well, and they took an 11-point lead into halftime. They had 19 points in transition in the first half on 9 of 9 shooting, so that was really a good sign for them, really encouraging. And then going into the fourth quarter, they led by 20 points, and they were up by 17 with 6 minutes left. And then they just couldn't get a rebound.
Yeah, the offensive rebounding was a big disappointment for the New Orleans Pelicans in this game when you have a guy like Anthony Davis down there, and Dante Cunningham.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Davis. I think Davis probably right now doesn't grasp the magnitude of these games that he's playing in.
This is where he needs to grow up.
And the Warriors do because they've been in the playoffs the past couple of years. So a guy like Draymond Green was going probably a little bit harder than Anthony Davis at the end. 11 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter for the Warriors, 9 in the last 7 minutes alone, 16 second chance points in that fourth quarter, which is actually crazy because Golden State was only 21st in offensive rebounding this season. I mentioned Draymond Green. He probably outworked Anthony Davis, and he was just enormous on the offensive glass.
Yeah, it was that shot by Steph Curry.
What can you say, man? He got fouled, too. The NBA came out and said he got fouled.
Yeah. They would have given him the shots if he missed the shot.
Yeah,
would have been a late whistle, though.
That shot had a degree of difficulty of probably a 12 on a 10-point scale.
Again, offensive rebounding is the entire reason he got his second opportunity.
Maurice Spates got the offensive rebound. Very similar to the play in the finals in 2013 when Chris Bosh got the offensive rebound, kicked it out to Ray Allen. But like I'm saying with that Curry shot, unbelievably difficult shot. And when it was in the air, I had no doubt that it was going in. Because
you just knew as soon as he got the second opportunity. Right. Well, there it is. They're going to take this in overtime.
Because he's Steph Curry and he's the most valuable player in the NBA.
I was watching the game and I thought the Pelicans had it won.
Yeah,
without a doubt. And then
I think everyone did.
The Pelicans, they just couldn't they couldn't get a rebound. It was just ridiculous.
Terrible. Yeah, it was.
And then Steph Curry just.
Yeah, and
there are no words to describe Steph Curry right now.
Right. And more about this game. We mentioned the offensive rebounding and how Golden State hasn't been that good on the offensive glass this season, but they were incredible in this game. On uncontested shots, the Warriors shot 35% and the Pelicans shot 62%.
Wow.
For the Warriors to be shooting that poorly and still find a way to win, that's very impressive to me. You know, some people think the Warriors are just a jump shooting team and they can't win a title because of that. You know, they'll get cold for 4 games in a series and not be able to win. But I disagree because, first of all, the Warriors are more than just a jump shooting team. They're the best defense in the league. And second, they're so ridiculously good at jump shooting that for every bad shooting game they have, they'll probably have 10 good ones. And finally, they proved that they can win without shooting well last night. I mean, I mentioned that they just didn't shoot very well on uncontested shots. And in Game 3, it was by crashing the offensive glass, even with a small lineup in. So really impressive win for the Warriors.
It's not all bad for Anthony Davis, as news surfaced the other night that New Orleans is planning to offer the kid 5 years, $140 million. That is 140.
Still,
ladies and gentlemen.
Still a no-brainer to offer him that contract, and he's still probably going to be underpaid because that's how good he is.
Let's just hope he lives up to the big contract.
Yes, I do think he's going to live up to it. In this playoff series, his first 4 games in the playoffs ever, 31.5 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks. He's the first guy in 40 years to average 30 and 10 in his first 4 playoff games. And the only guys to ever do it are Wilt, Kareem, and Bob McAdoo. That's some pretty good company right there.
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, what is there left to say? He's so special, and I think he definitely deserves to get that contract. And, I mean, pretty much on every show we've done, I've just gushed about Anthony Davis and basically declared my love for him.
And why not?
He's so good. He's so good. But then on the other side, Steph Curry, he averaged 33 points himself. Most valuable player. Nothing else left to be said about him.
The Dallas Mavericks, they stayed in the series too last night with their 121-109 win over Houston.
Really?
Not going home.
Really fun game to watch. I mean, it's funny that once they lose Rajon Rondo, they immediately get back to scoring a ridiculous amount of points.
JJ Barea showed the kid how to ball.
Yes, JJ Barea, 17 points, 13 assists in 35 minutes, really stepped up for him without Rondo there. In Game 3, the Mavs scored 130 points, and in this game they scored a bunch more too. We saw Dwight Howard actually throw it back a little bit. He's been really good in this series. A couple of times he's made me just go like, wow.
Yeah.
That's the Orlando Dwight that I remember. But the Mavs offense was back to that free-flowing, fluid offense that we saw before they made the Rondo trade. They looked like they were having fun again, and it's really awesome to see.
They shot 54% from the field, so shooting was not an issue for them.
Tons of pick and roll, tons of spacing, and it leads to tons of points. Monte Ellis was dynamic, 31 points on just 21 shots, and he was great in transition. I mentioned J.J. Barea, 17 and 13. Dirk had 16 and 8, and a few of his trademark one-legged fadeaways. Tyson Chandler, 14 boards, 5 offensive, and some ferocious dunks that we like to see from him. And even Al-Farouq Aminu, 16 points, 8 rebounds. I mean, who expected that? And he also did a really good job defending James Harden in this game.
Houston did kind of struggle throughout the game. They missed 17 consecutive shots covering the second and third quarters.
Yep. So the Rockets will be fine. They'll probably take Game 5. But it was good to see Dallas have a little renaissance to their early season offensive dominance.
They were 7 of 31 from the three-point range, which is very uncharacteristic of this Houston team.
Yeah, they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. So that won't repeat itself. And like I said, they'll probably take this series in the next game. But still fun for the Mavs.
Just going back to Monte Ellis, I think when this kid has an outstanding game like he did, this team thrives.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that Rondo kind of just threw that on-court chemistry off.
Right.
And they could have held it together there at the end of the season, maybe if Rondo never came.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the Rondo trade and how it was a colossal failure for the Mavs. They basically fell off a cliff once they acquired him. And when Monte is the primary ball handler, running pick and rolls with Tyson and Dirk, it's really beautiful to watch, and he does a great job in that system by Rick Carlisle.
It is good to see. Little all but over, most likely for Dallas, though. I don't see Houston giving up this series.
No.
Washington obliterates Toronto out of the playoffs with their 125-94 win.
That was surprising.
Wow.
Just amazing. I think the Raptors were probably favored coming into this series.
Oh, absolutely.
And for Washington to come out and play that well, or actually, they didn't even play that well. It was just Toronto playing like garbage, I think. It was a close game 3. Paul Pierce was again great. John Wall 19 and 15. But biggest thing for me in that game, the Raptors were a combined 6 of 21 at the rim when Nene or Gortat was defending the rim. That's game 3, and that's one of the main reasons Washington won that game. And then game 4 just came out and completely dominated. Marcin Gortat was great again on both ends. 8 for 9 from the field, 21 points, 11 boards, and 5 assists in game 4. Paul Pierce with the huge shots. We've talked about him. He averaged 15.5 points and 3.5 threes per game in this series. And actually, an interesting stat I saw, he's averaging 1.3 points per possession, which is every time he shoots or turns it over, so every time he ends an offensive possession. He's been the most efficient offensive player in the playoffs thus far, and he's 37 years old, so that's incredible to see. John Wall in this whole series ran the offense like an elite point guard that we all expect him to be. 17 points, 12.5 assists, pushed the pace really well. Otto Porter was quietly pretty good. He was a plus 48 for the whole series, and he was solid on defense. And I finished what Wall created for him.
6 Wizards scored in double figures for this game, including Bradley Beal with 23 points, Paul Pierce with 14, and those two combined for 7 out of the 15 three-pointers that they scored in this game. Where is this coming from Washington? Because they weren't that hot coming into the playoffs. Is this them just taking advantage of a team that was playing very poorly, or are they heating up again?
I think it's a combination of a few things. I think the main thing is Toronto being pretty abysmal. They were pretty bad this entire series and embarrassed themselves. But also, Paul Pierce hasn't been contributing like he did in this series this whole season. But he seemed really fired up for this series. I don't know why his goal was to destroy the lives of the Raptors, but he did it. I mean, he was talking smack about them early and came out and performed in this series. And then I want to mention Kyle Lowry. I think he was just too banged up in this series to play well. He's got some back injuries. He's dealing with a cold, a bruised shin. 10 for 42 from the field in his first 3 games, and in Game 4 he picked up his 3rd foul with 5 minutes left in the first quarter, which is terrible for the Raptors because their backups have no chance of guarding Wall and Beal, especially without Lowry in there.
How far do you think they're going to go?
I think they'll lose to the Hawks next round. They played really impressively in this series, and the Hawks haven't looked great themselves against Brooklyn, but I still just think Washington's not as good as they showed in this series. It's kind of a mirage.
It's funny because Toronto swept the season series 3-0.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Just found no consistency whatsoever.
And I want to do some quick math here for the Raptors. No defense plus no rebounding equals no victories, and that's something they seem to not understand.
Yeah.
Washington had the rebounding advantage in every game and by an average of 10 boards per game. And in the last 3 games, the Wizards averaged 116 points, and they're not even a good offensive team. So the Raptors just crumbled defensively, especially, and it's really sad to see. And I think their coach Dwayne Casey is going to be fired, and they're going to blow up that roster this offseason.
The NBA God's gift to the world, Spurs and Clippers series is now tied at 2 after the Clippers beat the Spurs in San Antonio last night, 114-105. This game is on track to go at least 6 games, hopefully 7.
Yeah, great series. It's really saving the first round because most series have only had one team win a game thus far, and this one is just great competitive basketball. 2 of the top 5 teams in the league, I think, going at it here. Game 4, CP3 and Blake did what they had to do to save them in this series. Chris Paul, 34 points on 19 shots, 7 assists, and just 2 turnovers. And then Blake Griffin, 20 points, 19 rebounds, 7 assists, and he was plus 14 for the game. Spurs, they do the hack a DeAndre strategy, which sometimes seems to work, but in this game it really bit them because they drew so many fouls when they were doing that intentionally that the Clippers were in the bonus really early in every quarter. And actually in the second half, Chris Paul drew 5 non-shooting fouls, and 4 of them were outside the three-point arc. So you're basically just giving them points when you foul guys other than DeAndre Jordan.
He went 10 for 10 from the line.
Yeah, so he was great. And still, though, Kawhi Leonard has been so good in this series, even though it's only 2-2. Mm-hmm. We thought Kawhi's coming out party was in the finals last year, but it seems like it's taken until now for people to realize how good he is. And now he's really ready to step into the limelight and be that top 10 superstar player that we think he is.
This was a nice bounce-back win for the Clippers after losing by 27 in Game 3.
Mm-hmm.
They shot 54% from the field, and then they were held to 34% on Friday. So that's a big bounce-back.
It is a huge bounce-back, and they got a huge boost from a surprising source, Austin Rivers.
Yeah, I saw that.
16 points on 7 of 8 shooting. In my opinion, Austin Rivers is maybe the worst player in the NBA, but he came out and just shocked us in this game. I don't know what was going right for him, but he's so bad. He's so bad.
I would agree. I would agree with that statement.
He's only on the team because his dad is the coach.
Yeah.
But he proved us all wrong in this game. He was phenomenal.
San Antonio went 6 of 25 from the three-pointers from the deep line, and then 25 for 33 from free throws.
Not Spurs basketball.
No, not Spurs basketball at all. And
So-
Manu Ginobili again didn't have a Manu game.
No. So what do you expect for the rest of the series? It's a best of 3 with 2 games in LA.
I'm gonna say San Antonio loses the next one in LA, comes
Okay.
back home, takes it, and then Pop is gonna get these boys fired up to take it in LA.
Yeah, I don't know.
For 7.
I'll also pick the Spurs in 7 because I think the Clippers bench isn't good enough to give the starters enough rest. So I'll take them in 7, but it's just such a great series. I hope it never ends.
Right?
In my opinion, the Clippers better win because if the Spurs get out of this round, I think they will be the hardest out the rest of the playoffs, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Hopefully, Clippers don't drain it all out of them.
Yeah.
All
But
that old age.
I still like the Warriors to win the West, but we'll see.
Can't wait for that to happen.
But it's the Spurs, man. It's the Spurs.
I know it's the Spurs, but the Warriors have been a lot better this year.
That is true, but the Spurs always seem to find a way to come out in big games and win one.
I know they have the experience, but the Warriors have just been so dominant this entire season.
It's nice to see something new.
It
here and
is.
there.
It
You
is.
know, you always see the Spurs. Let's get some new.
It's not often that everyone loves a dominant team, but it seems like everyone does love this Warriors team, and for good reason.
Well, what's not to love?
They're
but-
so fun to watch. Obviously, Steph, we've talked about him. Klay Thompson, great shooting.
I mean, there's no controversy with the team. They're not a dirty playing team. They're
Right.
just a great team that has good chemistry, can shoot the ball, and they won 67 games. I mean,
They're incredible, and I still like them to win the NBA title. I know we disagree on that a little bit, but that's fine.
we'll see when those two meet in the Western
We will.
Conference Finals.
We will.
On to the Nets and the Hawks series. Just not a fun series to watch at all. Hawks leading the series right now 2-1 after dropping their third game.
Okay, I don't agree with Charles Barkley on most subjects, but he was speaking truth during halftime of this game. He just straight up said, "This game is boring," and it is. He's so right. This series is awful. I hate it so much. Just get it off my TV. Imagine how much more fun it would be to have Russell Westbrook in the playoffs than the sluggish Nets. I mean, the Nets are so.
It's incredible that they actually won this game for them
Yeah.
not wanting to play the game of basketball.
The Nets just drag everyone down into their, tunnel of sadness, it seems like, because they're so boring, and it doesn't even seem like the fans want to be there at those games. It's
I mean,
just terrible.
Brooklyn won the game shooting 38%, and Atlanta shot 35%. Korver went 0 for 5 from the 3, which never happens.
I know. I think all this game was is just the Hawks weren't making their jump shots. They shot under 30% on uncontested shots, and this season they shot above 45% on those shots over the course of the season. So just weren't making their shots, and when a Hawks team so predicated on the three-point shot isn't making it, it can really sink them.
And it's taken Brooklyn 7 times this entire season, regular season and playoffs, to finally beat the Hawks.
Yeah, finally got over the hump.
Yeah.
The Nets have 12 fast break points in their first 3 games, which is pathetic. They're just so lethargic, and again, I want them gone. Please get them out of the
let's
playoffs.
just end this series right now. Just give the Hawks a series because we all know Brooklyn doesn't want to play.
Yep.
Just get them out of there. Another pretty boring series. Grizzlies take a 3-0 series lead over Portland, who is injury battered supposedly, but not playing like it. They just can't win a game.
They're too banged up, and Memphis is just too good for them. Mike Conley is suffering from a facial fracture, I believe.
Surgery.
Yeah,
successful surgery.
So he's going to miss Game 4. Hopefully he's back in time for their next series against the Warriors. And the Grizzlies could put up a decent fight.
Yeah.
I think the Warriors play small with Draymond Green at the 4. I don't know how – he's a great defender, obviously, but he's going to have difficulty dealing with Zach Randolph, especially on the block. So Memphis matches up decently well with Golden State, and I think it'll be a fun series, but I still like the Warriors to beat them in that second round.
Absolutely. Both teams shot 46% from the field. Portland didn't play awful. They had 4 players with 20-plus points. Batum, Aldridge, Lillard, and CJ. Batum and CJ have been kind of beaten up, but still put up those points.
Yeah. It's just they have no depth, especially they didn't have any depth even before the injuries, and now with Wes Matthews out, CJ McCollum banged up, Batum banged up,
Steve Blake with 0 points.
Aflalo banged up. They're struggling so much on the wing right now to even just get guys out there. I think that's why they're going downhill so fast.
Lillard can't be that clutch all the time like he was last year against Houston.
Yep.
Kaman and Robin Lopez only combined for 6 points, and they only shot 4 times combined.
Right. Aldridge and Lillard can't do it all on their own.
No. No one's really going to get inside on Zach and Zebo, so
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a sweep, or 5 games. It's going to be over soon.
All right, any last-minute thoughts for you guys?
I don't know. I think are we good? What about that online
how
gaming
about
thing,
that?
Rush?
That thing that captivated our boy Rush here.
I don't know. I got home last night and I turned on ESPN2, and there's this thing called esports, which I had no idea which was real. And these guys from UC Berkeley and ASU University, they were playing Heroes of the Storm, was it called?
Yeah, see, I knew that there's esports, with Counter-Strike, League of Legends, and Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. You told us to turn this on. I was like, this better be worth it.
And they didn't listen to me at first. I'm like, just turn on the TV.
I kind of know what's going on. I know what's going on with Call of Duty, obviously, and Counter-Strike, League of Legends here and there. But this was just you had no idea what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
But
it was the announcers
that were just getting you so pumped.
You don't get that excitement sometimes in the NBA playoffs. These guys were on fire.
So much fun. I love it.
And from everything I've seen in other sports and esports, the commentators are the exact same. Where you're like, this is Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals right now. How intense it is. And it was in the X Games. They had Call of Duty in the X Games in the summer. And then they added Counter-Strike in the Winter X Games. So, it's becoming more prevalent, which is actually cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
And it must mean a lot to these students because they won scholarships, or not scholarships. They won tuition for whatever they're going
making
into.
So much more than that, though.
No,
of course.
And still nice to not have to pay for college.
When ASU lost, it looks like they had just lost Game 7 of the NBA Finals.
Yeah, and
it was huge.
To them, that's what it is. It's
their
Super Bowl.
Yeah, and so even though there's that, there's esports athletes out there making over $1 million a year by doing this. So I'm sure those guys are sad they didn't get free college. But just streaming on certain websites, you can make great money if you're really prevalent. So it's cool to see that growing.
It's fun to tune in. Go to YouTube, check it out. You won't be disappointed.
I would just love to see commentators like that on normal baseball games.
Yeah.
Oh,
there goes a home run. There goes on left field.
Exactly.
That would make baseball much more entertaining to watch on TV once again.
And there's a bunt single.
Wrapping up the show here, UFC champion John Jones is facing a felony charge in alleged hit-and-run incident. If convicted, he faces 3 years in jail. Like Greg said, Josh Hamilton is a not a New York Ranger, a Texas Ranger once again, and the NBA now has a new deal with Stance socks for the new sock of the NBA.
The biggest news of the day.
How about that?
Awesome. Thank you.
That's all we got for Rush Hour today. Thank you, Kyle,
Yeah,
Drew,
thank
Greg.
you.
Thanks for joining,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Thanks, guys.